Good business is all about making smart choices, especially when it comes to growing your business and making it more profitable. Choices like when to expand and how to expand. Because proper business expansion requires two things: time and money. This is why a lot of entrepreneurs end up raising money from various sources. But many entrepreneurs prefer to use their own funds because they think it's less risky. While another option is borrowing from a bank. Unfortunately, most entrepreneurs believe that all debts are bad because they are more expensive due to interest payments. In this session, we will discover that using debt to fund your expansion can be less costly and can in fact help you grow your business and possibly lead to better shareholder value or better return on equity. And this is what we call good debt.
The dream of every entrepreneur is to expand or grow the enterprise. However, this does not come automatic. There are two things the entrepreneur must learn to do. One, to expand, you need to learn to use other people's time. You must learn to delegate to people who share your values and share your vision. To expand, you also need to learn how to use other people's money. Other people's money means you use not your capital, but some other outside source to feed the expansion. And there is a misconception here. People think that it is better to expand with your own money rather than borrow from a bank. Entrepreneurs do not want to pay interest. They say, why should I pay interest? I just use my own money. It's interest-free. Not true. I've invited an entrepreneur from Rizal province to help us see what using other people's money can do. I've invited MAGUALLAR, an entrepreneur in the construction and retail industry. Hi, Ann.
Good afternoon.
Welcome, ha. Ano ba yung negosyo mo? Di ba taga Binangona, Rizal ka?
Yes, Prof. I'm into construction and retailing. I'm managing a gas station. I started 2009 with my gas station, and since then I focused more on the gas station than the construction.
Mukhang magandang negosyo yan. Eh, ano balak mo ba i-expand? Yung construction ba o yung gas station mo?
Mas gusto ko po sana dun sa gas station kasi mas maganda po yung profit.
Okay, kung mag-expand ka tungkol dyan sa iyong gas station, alam mo, meron akong mga tip na ibibigay sa'yo. Kung gusto mo lumaki yung negosyo mo, kailangan meron kang matutunan dalawa.
Ano
Isa, kailangan kang natutong kumamit ng other people's time. Kailangan matuto kang mag-delegate sa iyong mga tao. Pero dapat yung mga taong ito, importante lang ito ha, share niya yung vision at values mo.
Yes.
So, yung other people's money, ibig sabihin yan, you will use hindi mo pera. Pera ng ibang tao. Ito yung pera, specifically, minsan ginagamit ito na marami, pera ng bangko. Ibig sabihin, mangutang ka.
Hey, takot po ako mangutang.
Bakit ka takot mangutang?
Takot po ako na baka hindi eligible yung profile ng business para makapag-loan.
Takot ka ma-reject, ano?
Sino pong hindi? Kaya hindi ko rin tinatry.
A lot of entrepreneurs avoid borrowing from a bank because they think they aren't eligible for a loan. But did you know that you can determine your eligibility based on three things? Your leverage, your profitability, and your viability. And all those three things can be seen right from your financial statement, as Professor Andy Ferreria will explain with the help of Miss MAGUALLAR.
Alam mo kasi, ang bangko, papansinin ka kapag meron kang tatlong bagay. Una, if you are leveraged correctly. Pangalawa, if you are profitable or managing the business very well. At pangatlo, kung yung project or yung expansion na iuutang mo ay viable. Yung leverage ay sinusukat yung magkano yung utang mo kahit sa supplier, di ba? Yung mga ganyan. At magkano yung nilagak mong pera at yung tubong iniwan mo. Kung lumagpas ka ng Forest 1, over-leverage ka na. Kada piso mong pera
na puhunan, okay, hanggang 4 na piso pwede kang umutang.
A comparative analysis of the audited financial statements of 2012 and 2013 indicates the following. If we take a look at the balance sheet and we now compute the debt-to-equity ratio, it is showing that in 2012, the debt-to-equity ratio is 1.38. In 2013, it is 1.13. As a matter of fact, it is improving. That is telling us that she is not yet leveraged to the max.
Yung profitability mo, tinignan ko yung iyong net income after tax. Yung tawag namin dyan, NIAT. Yung kinita mo, gross, binawas lahat ng gastos, including yung bayad sa BIR.
Now, if we now compare the net income before tax and now take a look at your NIAT, meaning net income after tax, after the tax has been computed, and compare it to the equity, we will now come up with an analysis that return on equity is from 15.64% has gone up to 17.02. What does this all mean? Comparing the return on equity, 2012 is 15.64 and 2013 is 17.02. Again, showing an improvement. She has also shown that she is able to manage the business very well because the return on equity is also improved by almost 2 percentage points.
So
Okay.
ano po yung third?
Yung third natin, okay, ito tinatawag yung viability ng expansion mo. Kwento mo nga, ano pa yung expansion mo?
My business started po in 2009 and it has been doing good. And now, gusto ko sanang i-expand kasi napapansin ko since last year, naging commercialized, na-improve yung location. So, na-forecast ko na mas magiging maganda kung magdagdag ako ng stocks.
Yun yung parang kailangan mo ng resources para magkaroon ng extra inventory.
Yes.
Magkano naman kayang kailangan mong pera para sa inventaryong yan? Tansya mo lang.
Mga at least 500,000 po.
At yung 500,000 na yon, ibibili mo ng stock.
Extra fuels.
Extra fuel. At papaikutin mo yan
Yes.
ilang beses sa isang taon. At ang neto nun, mga magkano sa isang taon?
More or less, around 30 to 40%. So, mga 200,000
Mga
po.
200,000. So, ibig sabihin, yung perang ilalagak na additional 500,
Yes.
pwedeng kumita ng 200,000 sa isang taon.
Pwede po.
Ibig sabihin, kung naglagak ng 500, 2.5 years, balik yung pera. Ay sus, viable po yan.
And disclosed that the project will require an additional 500,000 in terms of investments. And the incremental income that it will bring in a year is 200,000. Given the facts of the expansion, it can surely pay back in 2.5 years. Clearly viable.
So, pwede na ako sa pangatlong check.
Oo, pangatlong check. Kanyan, pagkakaguluhan ka ng bangko dyan, kung uutang ka.
Eh, kaso po, hindi naman ako interested talagang umutang.
Bakit? Kasi alam mo ngayon, kung umutang sa bangko, mga 8% na yun lang.
Eh, yun nga po, meron akong pwede pong ilabas na capital. Bakit po ako mag-aano ng interest?
Bigyan mo akong pagkakataong, magkukompute ako uli ha. Ang assuming ko, uutang ka ng 500,000.
Yes.
At yung additional kita sa isang taon, 200,000, uutang tayo at 8%. Papakita ko sa'yo, ano mangyayari kung pera mo gamitin mo at kung pera ng bangko.
A common misconception among entrepreneurs is that it is cheaper to fund an expansion with your own money. But as you'll soon discover, borrowing from a bank can possibly improve your return on equity. In this section, Professor Andy Ferreria talks about how debt can help improve your return on equity and grow your business.
Simulating the project of Anne, we will realize that there will have to be changes in the 2013 financial statements. Because with expansion, the asset side will increase by 500,000. The liabilities will remain the same, but the equity will increase by 500,000 if she decides to use new money or new equity. Now, if we take a look at the projected or simulated income statement, the net income before tax will also increase by 200,000, jumping from 345,000. This will be taxed at a rate of 24%, which is our average in their AFS, and the NIAT will become 414,000. And if we take a look at the ROE, it has become 20%, which is 414 reference to 2 million of equity. Now, if she decides to use a bank loan, still the assets will increase by 500,000. There's no change there. However, it is the liabilities that increase by 500,000 instead of the equity. So therefore, the liabilities from 1.744 is now gone up to 2.244, while the equity stays at 1.544. If we take a look at the projected financials, there will be the same 545 in terms of the net income before tax. However, there's an additional interest expense of 40,000 coming from the 8% interest rate on the loan of 500,000. Now, there's tax again, but the taxable amount is lower than the earlier pure equity because of the difference in additional interest expense. The net income or NIAT after tax is 325.16. And if we compare this to the equity, which is still at 1.5, there is a improvement of your ROE from 20% without a loan to 25% with a loan.
Actually, enticing talaga yung ginawa niyong table kasi parang nakita ko na parang mas malaki yung return on equity pag galing sa bank.
Tama.
As opposed dun sa pagpera ko.
Pero-
Pero mas maliit pa rin po yung kita.
Alam mo bakit gano'n nangyari? Kasi tumaas ka ng income mo to 414.
Yes.
Mas mataas nga. Pero nagdagdag ka naman ng kapital. So pag binangga mo yung dalawa, ang net effect ng return on equity, larger equity.
So, Prof, bakit po ba mas importante na malaki ang increase ng return on equity ng isang negosyanteng
titingnan
katulad?
natin kasi yung return of equity, yan ang sukat kung mahusay mag-manage yung nagpapatakbo o yung entrepreneur. Kasi yung equity, yan yung puhunan. Remember, binabangga natin dyan yung kita every year. So, pag tumataas yan, ibig sabihin, you are able to manage your resources to produce more profits. So, therefore, it is a reflection of good management.
Prof, thank you very much po. Sobrang natuto ako talaga and convinced na ako na mas okay talagang gumamit ng loan kesa gamitin yung sarili kong money for capital.
Good debt or ability to borrow requires several things. One, that your leverage can still take it. Two, that your profitability can take it. And number three, the viability of the expansion is also proven. I go back to the case of Anne. It has been shown that the return on equity is better if she borrowed money. From a 17% return on equity actual of 2013, it is projected to become 25% if she borrowed money, or only 20% if she used her own money. Clearly, she has learned that good debt is about borrowing money to improve your return on equity. Banks have a variety of loan facilities to help entrepreneurs grow their enterprise, such as term loans or credit lines. Remember, using your own money may seem to be less risky, but more expensive than borrowing from a bank. If you're still under leverage, meaning your debt to equity ratio is still below 4:1, borrowing from a bank is your best option. By being smart about your expansion and making the right business choices, you can use debt to help grow your enterprise. This is what we call good debt.
Visit your nearest BDO branch or call 02-631-8000. You can also text BDO loans to 2256 or visit www.bdo.com.ph for more details.